Hello, I'm John Cunningham. Welcome to the RedChip Money Report. For those of you new to the show, RedChip is an investor relations, media, and research firm focusing on emerging growth companies. Our unique platform combines multimedia with traditional investor relations, reaching investors globally. Today on the show, you'll see interviews with executives of 3 public companies. First, Alpine Technologies, symbol ALPP on the OTCQB. Alpine is a fast-growing, technology-driven holdings company. Later, you'll learn about the diversified businesses they are building by acquiring synergistic operations in a variety of complementary industries. Second is Esports Entertainment Group, symbol GMBL on the OTCQB. Esports Entertainment is a licensed online gambling company specializing in esports wagering. Stay tuned to learn more about their recently launched wagering platform. The third and final company is Spectrum Global Solutions, stock symbol SGSI on the OTC. Spectrum Global is a holding company for the next generation technology companies focused on telecom and energy services. Later, you'll hear about their growing backlog of business in the US, Canada, and the Caribbean. Now our quote of the week, and it comes from Chapter 7 of Small Stocks, Big Money. The quote: if you want to invest in the microcap space, buy companies, not stocks. If you buy stocks, the daily fluctuations and lack of liquidity will drive you crazy. This quote comes from Small Stocks, Big Money, a book available on our website and on Amazon. Now, our first interview today will be with Kent Wilson, the president and CEO of Alpine Technologies. Let's go to the interview.
Kent, thanks for being with us today.
Dave, thanks again for having us. Glad to be back on the show.
Well, Kent, you're building a portfolio of innovative businesses. What can you tell us about your acquisition strategy, and what do you look for in a new portfolio holding?
We discussed in the past our driver, stabilizer, and facilitator business model, and we really try to fall in line within that model. Driver meaning usually companies that are high potential growth, emerging technology, fairly sexy for Wall Street. Altea, our connected car company, happens to be a driver company, operates in a $9 billion market. We think we'll grab 1% to 2% of that over the next 4 to 5 years. And then we have stabilizers, sticky customers, been around a long time, pretty agnostic when it comes to type of industry they're in. A lot of those out there. And then there's the facilitator, which is kind of our secret sauce. And they're a company that allows our other 2 types of companies, or even another facilitator company, to vertically integrate without vertically integrating. Really maybe help manufacture or provide a service to one of those companies that they may be paying an outside party for, that would benefit from having it done internally within the brotherhood of Alpine holding structure. For 2018, 2019, we're still kind of holding true to within a realm of confidence that we'll hit between 41, that's pretty strong, million in revenue, up to 67 million in annualized revenue by the end of 2018.
You sort of answer the next question, which is what's the essential value proposition, or why should investors take an interest in Alpine today? But again, if you're going to be tracking 50 million in revenue by the end of 2018, that's a pretty good value proposition.
Yeah, the value proposition from my standpoint, and I think a lot of investors, when they look at us, come to the understanding that you're getting a good best of breed investment opportunity. You got your driver classifications that really can help drive, some higher multiples as they get affected on our stock. But yet the consistent revenue for a company like Alpine, at some point we are considering paying a dividend. As we get into the profitability stage, which we're expecting this year. And that's where the stabilizer model really comes of value. And then, obviously being innovative, a company of innovation that has long-term success, the facilitator model really looks at it. So when you add all 3 of those, we kind of have a best of breed investment opportunity. But yeah, you had also asked us, what do we look for in a portfolio, a type of company for a portfolio? And I want to touch on that because it's a really important question. At Alpine, we understand the universal equation for business success. And we really look for those qualities to either exist in a business or one that we can deploy into a business. And so those 4 qualities, the first 2 are pretty obvious. You got to have profit and you got to have cash flow. Now, a lot of people confuse the 2. They're very divergent. They work hand in hand, but you got to have profit, you got to have cash flow. The third thing we look for is ease of operations. We know if a company has deployed systems or resides in a market where they can have ease of operations. They usually have a greater success at retaining employees and access to debt capital or equity capital. And so we like to see that in there. Or at the least, we have identified abilities to deploy systems to allow ease of operations. Finally, you need to have a culture of innovation and the ability to deliver a flexible and diverse product or service offering to your customers. We know if you have all four of those, you got a successful business that will be there around a long time.
Absolutely. Now, your Venture West Energy subsidiary announced record first quarter sales volume. Talk to us about this milestone and what are your expectations for the quarters ahead?
You know, Dave, we are really excited about Venture West. That company is really taking a foothold. For those of you who don't know about that subsidiary, they provide oil field service and production support to, major oil field services and production companies such as maybe a Continental Resources, Halliburton, larger companies that are in the mix, extracting essentially energy from the ground in the form of oil or gas, natural gas. And Venture West does two primary components. They provide water transfer, which would be the inflow of massive amounts of water to a frac site, or flowback, which would be on the extraction side and completion side, where they're taking it and turning and pulling out any of the water or the sand or the oil and extracting it. So they provide those type of support services to the energy and petroleum industry. They are trending to have one of their largest quarters ever. And the nice thing about that entity is it throws anywhere from 20 to 25% net profit to the bottom line. So we've invested a lot of time, effort, and resources into that company, and we expect big things from them, not just this quarter, but in coming quarters.
Excellent. Now, in January, you announced the launch of your blockchain-based enterprise operating system. Tell us a little bit about this technology and what milestones lie ahead.
Yeah, that's a unique one. We have been developing since 2016, fourth quarter 2016, our own enterprise business operating system. And I've spoken a little bit about that publicly, but the reality of that system is there is a serious gap, if you will, in the ability to deploy meaningful information in real time and do it in a collaborative effort across many different systems. For example, if you're a larger based company, you might run SAP or Oracle. But while the system can deliver a lot of information, there really isn't a very good collaboration mechanism that it's allowing certain elements within the business to collaborate and work uniformly, if that makes sense. So a lot of time is wasted. We've developed within Spectrum, EBOS, the ability of a very robust enterprise resource planning system tethered to a very strong collaboration overview system, if you will, added a business intelligence platform to deliver meaningful information to the front lines that's pertinent and relevant, and a document management system so people can access the documents all within one system. And then we've taken it a step further and tied it to a blockchain ledger system, which allows us to really give and ensure the integrity of the process, if you will. And we think Spectrum, we're going through beta testing right now in two of our subsidiaries, but sometime by 2019, we'll be able to deploy that product. And our target market is essentially the medium to small cap public companies that don't need or want to spend $1 million+ with Oracle or SAP, but need a very robust accounting and enterprise resource planning system, and need the ability to ensure the integrity of the transaction from an auditing standpoint. We think Spectrum hits that mark and will be a very relevant company and a driver company for us in the years to come.
Very good. To recap, Kent, what's the main takeaway for investors? Why should they own your stock today?
As we talked about before, I would say that one of the key pivotal things is rapid growth. All three of our current subsidiaries are trending on 30 to 40% growth, and then you add our additional acquisitions that we are either in LOI or doing due diligence on right now. I would expect rapid growth, and tied to that, true net profitability, not just an EBITDA level profit, but net profitability. And so that's what you can take away from the next 12 to 18 months.
Excellent story, Ken. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Dave, it's always a pleasure.
Now, to get more information about Alpine 4 Technologies, visit alppinfo.com. See research reports, fact sheets, presentations, the latest videos. It's all free, and you can subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the news. Now, our second interview today is with Grant Johnson, the CEO and chairman of Esports Entertainment Group. Let's go to that interview. Grant, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, Esports Entertainment is a licensed online gambling company that focuses on the rapidly expanding market for video game competition. For those viewers who aren't familiar with esports, let's start out the interview with an overview of the industry, and then how does that tie into your business?
Okay, well, the esports industry is professional video game play. This is an industry that there's thousands and thousands of players who play and engage in professional video games where they'll make millions of dollars playing these games at major tournaments in major venues all around the world. They have a fan base that as of 2017 exceeded 350 million. And this is a fan base that's growing so fast, even the experts can't keep ahead of the forecasts. So what we're doing at Esports Entertainment Group is we're giving the opportunity for this huge growing fan base the ability to bet on these pro players. Same as in traditional sports, where fans of traditional sports are able to bet on their favorite players, their favorite teams, their favorite games. We're offering that same opportunity in the massive esports industry.
What's the essential value proposition? Why should investors take an interest in esports entertainment today?
The main reason is we've gone through our beta test. We're now launched. We're no longer a dev company. So now is the time. Now we're just coming up for the first time. We're just kicking off our investor relations, our public relations program. We felt very strongly that we didn't want to go out to the world until we had hit the milestone. Last week, we launched. We're now able to start taking players on our platform. And in the next 2 weeks, we'll be tying in our affiliate marketing platform. So the 60 plus affiliates that we've already signed up to our system will be able to start sending us traffic. So the timing's perfect.
Now let's talk a little bit about your business model. You touched on it a bit. How exactly do you make money?
Our business model, we offer what's called a bet exchange. This is a bit different than a traditional sports bet model where you're playing against a house. You're playing against a bookie. You give the bookie your money, the bookie gives you the odds, and then the bookie plays against you. In our model, we allow the players to set their own terms, how much they want to bet, and it's player against player. So we create an environment where everybody who's playing is allowed to be playing. They're coming from a jurisdiction where it's legal to play. They're not taking a position against the house. We're winner agnostic. We want, obviously, everybody who plays in our system, it's a fan, it's a player. You're not playing against the house ever, and we take a percentage of the winner's pot.
How big is the market for esports wagering?
Well, this is the question everybody's asking. How big is the market? Well, we know that the online gambling market, which started in the late 90s, went from zero to currently it's mainstream, and it's estimated that next year, or 2020, it will reach $20 billion. That's just the online market. The last reports that I've read is it's expected that over the next 5 years, the esport betting market will mirror the sports betting market. So we're going to go from what currently today is a very small nascent market to 20 billion.
Now, management is critical to the success of small cap companies. Can you tell us about your team and who are some of the key players?
Yeah, as you can imagine, because esports is a relatively new phenomena in the mainstream, and betting is even more nascent for esports. So we had a challenge of trying to come up with the right combination. So what I've done is I've recruited a team from around the world that has expertise both in gambling and in esports and married them together. Our affiliate manager comes from a gambling background. He's based in Sweden. Our social media expert is an esports broadcast expert. He's based in the UK. Our chief technical officer, his background is in building and managing online sports betting platforms and sportsbook platforms. He's based in Poland. Our top esports, our head of esports, in fact, Ryan Codre, is an esports team owner. He's based in the United States. Alex Lim, who's formerly the Secretary General of the Esports Federation. He's based in Seoul, Korea, which is where esports really started. And I'm based here in Canada, and my background is I was involved in the online gambling business back in the early 90s. So we brought together experts from both worlds, married them together under one banner.
Now, to recap, what's the main takeaway for investors? Why should they own your stock today?
The best way for me to respond to that is we've just launched. We know we're in an industry where all the experts are expecting it to hit tens of billions of dollars in the next few years from zero, effectively. We're in an industry where the owners of the Dallas Cowboys, NBA owners of the Paris Football Club, some the biggest pro sports team owners in the world, they're pouring millions of dollars into esports. They recognize this is where the 50% of all millennials don't watch traditional sports. They watch esports. And as they grow, and as the industry continues to add more content, it certainly stands to reason that esports will follow the same path that traditional sports do, in which case I think having an opportunity to get in now, grassroots, early stage in a company that's going to have a substantial chunk of a $20 billion industry, it seems to me to be fairly academic. It couldn't be better.
Grant, thanks for being on the show today. We look forward to hearing more from you and the company in the future.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, to get more information about Esports Entertainment Group, visit gmblinfo.com. See research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. It's all free, and you can subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the news. Now, our third interview today is with Keith Hayter, President and Director of Spectrum Global Solutions. Let's go to that interview. Keith, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start off the interview with a brief overview of your business.
Well, Spectrum Global Solutions is an OTC public company. We work in two main industry sectors, the first being telecommunications and the second being energy. Now, we're a national provider of services and solutions to tier one carriers such as AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and Sprint.
Now, what's the essential value proposition? Why should investors take an interest in your stock today?
Well, we're extremely undervalued, for one. We trade at 1/10 of our market cap, which is very, very low considering the industry norm would be about 2 times revenue. Secondly, we've installed a fantastic management team, many years of experience, capabilities, and demonstrated performance. And then thirdly, growth. Our growth opportunities, both organic and through acquisitions, will create a company much larger than what it is today.
Keith, let's talk a little bit about the business model. How exactly do you make money? And you mentioned tier one. Who are some of the customers, and what are some of the work that you're currently doing?
Well, as a service provider for the deployment of networks for these telecommunication carriers, again, the tier ones being AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and Sprint. There's also a lot of other associated network infrastructure out there to deploy. So there's fiber networks, there's inside plant networks within buildings, airports, hotels, convention centers, and then outside plant where you see the towers and antennas on buildings. So all of these need some form of connectivity, even if they're wireless.
Right. Now, you're doing some work in Chicago. Can you tell us maybe just a hands-on or real-life example of what some of the work you're doing there?
Yes, certainly. Chicago is a great area where we've worked in for many years. Currently, what we're performing is some network auditing. So we'll go out and look at the existing plant and come back with an assessment of that plant and how it looks, how it's performing, what conditions it's in. And then that allows our customer to make a decision on how to improve it, how to acquire it if they desire to do that, or look to expand it.
Right. How big is the market opportunity for your services?
Well, if you look just purely in the US, over $100 billion is spent each year by the carriers in CapEx. So with the pending technology deployments that are coming up, which you may have heard of, the 5G, which is replacing 4G. You've got the first network that's coming out, which is the states signing up to a nationwide uniform network for first responders and public safety. And then you've got the Internet of Things, and currently there's a massive push on small cell densification.
Now, in the first quarter of 2017, you did $3.1 million in revenues, and second quarter a little softer due to some of the weather. Can you maybe talk to us a little bit about the second quarter, and what are some of the milestones that investors can look forward to the next 6 to 12 months?
Certainly. Well, without a doubt, we were impacted in the second quarter, mainly due to the hurricanes that came through the southeast and across the Caribbean. We have a large operation in Puerto Rico, and that suffered heavily during that time, and subsequently loss of power and other infrastructure and services. However, we're still on track for what we thought we would do over a 12-month period. So we're approximately 50% into our 10 million that we had projected for the 12 months. So we feel we're good. We feel that there's going to be a snapback, and actually, while it's not good for the community, there will be more work to get that infrastructure back up and running. As for the next 6 to 12 months, the milestones, I think I need to just step back there a second and say, well, the first significant milestone we had was the acquisition of AW Solutions. That gave us our platform company to grow upon within Spectrum Global Solutions. Secondly, there was the proxy vote that took place, where we rebranded ourselves and renamed the company to Spectrum Global Solutions. And then thirdly, we've got an S4 registration in that allows us to now re-domicile to Nevada from Canada, British Columbia. And that will create a better alignment with our customers in the US, and it will also increase greater business flexibility. Going ahead, we have, again, as I mentioned before, some aggressive plans in acquisitions, and we have a number of companies lined up that we're looking at, and we expect to have some favorable news on that in the near future.
Thank you. Now, you touched on the management team a little bit. Maybe can you tell us a little bit about your background and maybe another executive that works with the team?
Yes, certainly. I'll start with our CEO, Roger Ponder. Roger Ponder has got many years of experience. He was the Midwest Time Warner Division Manager, and he also ran the Hawaii market for Oceanic. So he's got a wealth of knowledge, and I look at him upon him as my mentor at times. He's a very valuable resource with the business, and he will drive us forward. Myself, I worked in telecommunications in the UK with British Telecom International, and then I emigrated to the US and have worked in public and private environments in telecommunications since I came over here.
Keith, to recap, what's the main takeaway? Why should investors invest in the company today?
Well, the company's got great potential. It's already gone leaps and bounds from where it was. The management team that's installed is very proven and experienced and demonstrated capabilities. Secondly, we're only trading at 1/10 of our revenue when we should be at 2x. And thirdly, we've got fantastic growth plans, both organically and through acquisitions that we intend to close on in a relatively near future to primarily drive shareholder value.
Keith, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Now, to get more information about Spectrum Global Solutions, visit sgsiinfo.com. See research reports, fact sheets, presentations, the latest videos. It's all free, and you can subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the news. Now let's recap the 3 public companies we met with today. First, Alpine 4 Technologies, symbol ALPP. We learned about their 3 subsidiaries as well as their criteria for future acquisitions. Great buy at current levels. Then Esports Entertainment Group, symbol GMBL. With the recent launch of their wagering platform, Esports Entertainment has positioned itself in a new and growing market that researchers expect to reach $20 billion by the year 2020. Ground floor opportunity and an exciting space. Then Spectrum Global Solutions, symbol SGSI. They're targeting acquisitions in the telecom sector with a significant opportunity for growth. The company is projecting 34 to 36 million in revenue run rate in the next 12 months. At those levels, the stock could see a much higher valuation. For more information about any of these companies, visit their respective website on the screen. On each web page, you can see research reports, fact sheets, presentations, the latest videos. It's all free, and you can subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the news. Now remember, these stocks are for your speculative money. Gains can be significant, but you must be prepared for the downside. You can read our full disclosures at redchip.com. Thanks for being with me. I'll see you the same time next week.